Here we are, it's 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning. It's about 17 degrees out. Left it locked apparently. There we are. To get the proper shot for the tests, we're mounting a camera on a tripod in the center of the truck. A little dusting of snow last night. The truck we're using for this test is a 2022 F250 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel. Okay, here's the setup. Under the hood, and I shot this after the test because, well, it's warmer in the shop. Here we have installed our Ventech LHG rapid supplemental heater, which uses all kinds of physics and fluid dynamics to create instantaneous heat from rotation, putting the heat directly into the water jacket and the truck's climate control heater core. Inside the cab, we have mounted a temperature display that is connected to a probe for testing the air temperature coming out of the dash vent. These only read and report the temperature of the air coming out of the heater vent. We are recording other information like the engine coolant temperature with some proprietary test equipment. None of the gadgets you see here in the cab are part of the normal LHG installation. They're just here for the tests. As we get situated in the cab, I'll point out that the trip with the LHG activated is shown at the top left, and the trip with the LHG deactivated is shown at the top right. A red light on the temperature gauge will indicate that the LHG is active. Here we've frozen the video at 1.5 seconds into the trip to illustrate that the heater air temperature entering the cabin is exactly the same as we start out. Since we are using the same route for both trips, we begin by leaving our offices and heading for the main road. For these trips, the truck has not been cold soaked. It was simply left unused for about 12 hours. At the end of this video, we'll include a link to our defrost testing, which used a cold soaked truck at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or -18 Celsius. We also want to note that our test truck is equipped with Ford's optional PTC supplemental cab heater, which uses electricity to supplement the cab heat when the coolant temperature is very low. We thought about disabling the supplemental heater to make the differences in the test results more dramatic, but then we thought that many trucks out there will be equipped with the supplemental heater, and so we left it on. You'll see that the difference in warm-up speed is still pretty dramatic. Let's freeze the video here at the exit from our parking lot. As you can see, 1 minute and 5 seconds into the test, the LHG has added quite a bit of heat to the coolant or water jacket. If you remember, the starting coolant temperature for the LHG activated test was 30 degrees. And in 1 minute, the LHG has raised it to 68 degrees. This has increased the vent air temperature well above freezing, while the test with only the Ford supplemental heater is still blowing below freezing air into the cabin. Because the LHG is adding heat directly to the water jacket, it is also helping to warm up the engine. Let's fast forward 1.5 minutes. We're now at 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the test. The coolant temperature with the LHG supplementing it is at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and toasty 75-degree air is being blown into the cabin. On the other hand, the test with the LHG off isn't even close, and while the measured temperature coming out of the vents is finally above freezing, it sure doesn't feel like it. Now we fast forward to another milestone. At 3 minutes and 55 seconds, the air coming out of the vents in the LHG assisted test is hot at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The cabin is warm, and if we weren't doing a test, we would certainly be turning the heater down. For the test without the LHG activated, the engine and the Ford optional PTC electric supplemental heater have been able to bring the vent air up to 57 degrees, but the cabin is still quite cold, and you have to put your hands right next to the heater vent to feel any of that warmth. With one final fast forward, we jump to the point where the LHG-equipped engine reaches its desired operating temperature of around 185 degrees. At this point, the LHG's electronic control unit detects that no additional heat is necessary and disengages the LHG. This is illustrated on our test equipment when the red light on the temperature gauge goes out. In the LHG supplemented test, the cabin has been hot for quite a while, and the engine is fully up to operating temperature. And while the non-LHG test has finally reached a temperature where the cabin is comfortable, it will take the non-LHG test over twice the already elapsed time to reach a healthy engine temperature. This leads to an important point. Installing an LHG in your truck is not only about comfort, it's also about protecting your considerable investment in your truck's engine and after-treatment system. Looking at a graph of the coolant temperatures during the two tests will illustrate how the LHG achieves both your comfort and the protection of your truck. In the first minute of the test, just 60 seconds, the LHG has heated the coolant and the engine to just a fraction under 70 degrees Fahrenheit, over 30 degrees hotter than the coolant without the LHG running. And in 3.5 minutes, the LHG has supplemented the coolant and the engine to over 130 degrees. That's an increase from cold start of 100 degrees in 210 seconds. That's an increase, on average, of about 1 degree every 2 seconds, including some stretches like these, where the coolant temperature was increasing by more than 1 degree per second. About 11 minutes into the test, the LHG has brought the coolant and the engine up to a proper running temperature, 75 degrees hotter than the unassisted engine. At this point, and for the rest of the drive, the LHG's Gen 3 intelligent ECU will automatically cycle the LHG on and off as necessary to maintain a healthy operating temperature, even with the thermostat open, something you don't get with an unassisted engine or engine preheaters. This means better fuel efficiency, fewer regens, and reduced engine, turbo, and after-treatment buildup. With the Ventech LHG, your cabin is comfortable, your windows are clear, you're saving money, and you have serious cold weather protection for your truck.